Okay, folks, welcome back. So let me show you what I got going on here tonight. I've got two of the ribs made, one for this position and one for this position here. That would be rib number 5, rib number 6. And when I started making these, that's just the way it fell out as I was looking at my drawing here. And here are those ribs. And I have the general outline. It's cut. It's ready for me to cut the slots in it and to cut the lightning holes. And on this rib here, I have those marked off. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I have them marked off for the lightning holes, have them marked off for the slots where they're going to intersect with the stringers and the keel beam. See right there, maybe that's a little bit better. But okay, we're halfway there because I had to make 4 of these for that section of the boat. Let me show you how I'm doing this. I discovered early on in this process that I'm terrible at CAD programs, or maybe not terrible, but it's just going to take forever to learn. And so not wanting to devote years of Franciscan-like monk study to learning how to use CAD, I just came out here in the garage and I made a full-size drawing. And I know I probably explained this in a previous video, but I just got some poster paper and taped it together and measured everything out. And this is a life-size drawing, and all I'm doing is just taking and transferring the dimensions off the paper and transferring them over to the plywood when I get ready to cut a piece out for whatever part I'm making. So I'll give you a good for instance here. Let's take the measurement here. This is rib number 5, and hopefully you can see that. And so, I've mentioned, I think, in a previous video about taking these linear measurements here from here to this point and down to this point, and then transferring them over to the plywood. So let me show you what those points are. That view there, when you look at the rib, it is as though you were looking at the rib from the side view. And so I take the measurement from here down to this point. That is the measurement from here to here. Okay, now I want to clarify something I just said. Now I said that I'm taking a measurement between this point and this point here, and transferring it over to the plywood to make my cut, to get my cut lines. And so this is a linear line right here. It does not include this angle. So when you're going to transfer the measurement between this point right here and this point, what you're actually doing is you're making a measurement, or you're drawing your kind of like a perpendicular line right here. And the measurement is actually taken from this upper surface, and the measurement is between this upper surface and this point. But that line, like I said, it's perpendicular to this upper surface. You don't want to take that measurement off of this drawing from here to here and actually transfer that measurement between this point and this point, because like I said, that's linear. You're looking at this rib from this view right here. And so you have to be careful when you're doing this that you don't make that mistake. And I think I've actually done that a couple of times. But no, the measurement, again, I'm going to clarify, it's between this upper surface and this point right here. And so you're going to take and you're going to have to draw like a perpendicular line down. Now don't cut on that line. If you're going to make a line there with your square, don't cut that line. That's not your cut line. You're going to make a cut line here, taking your angle off your protractor or off of your rear view drawing, or however you decide to do it. But again, I just wanted to clarify, I wanted to insert this into the middle of this video and make sure it's understood where the measurement points are. And again, it's between this upper surface and this point. And then same thing over here when taking the measurement between the upper surface, this point, and the bottom of the V. Again, that's a linear measurement, and we're not worried about this angle right here. All we're worried about is this linear measurement between the upper surface, bottom of the V. Same thing, same principle, and I hope that clears things up. Then this bottom point right here, that would be the bottom of the V. And so all I do is, like I said, I transfer those measurements, and I'm able to do that because I have two fixed points on here that don't change regardless of how tall this rib ends up being. First of all, this angle. This angle does not change. This angle is a constant, regardless of which rib I'm working on. And the second measurement that is constant, and let me set this up a little bit better for you, and it is the measurement between this point and the same point on the opposite side. Here, that is fixed. Regardless of which rib I'm working on, it's 51 1/2 inches. And so I'm able to establish that point and work from there to draw out my lines, to draw out the cut lines where I need them, so that I can cut out the ribs out of this plywood. And so that's how I've been doing that. Now, you may have seen a couple of other slots cut forward of the bulkhead here. Let me move that piece of angle iron out of the way. You may have seen these slots here. I'm gonna kind of approach these a little differently. I've got a different game plan for those. What I'm gonna do there is I'm gonna wait until the outer skin, the outer hull plywood is attached, and I'm gonna kind of do it the way the stitch and glue builders do it. And the way they do it is they build the hull first, and then they cut and measure their ribs and stringers to the shape of the hull, and they take the measurements from the finished hull. And so I'm going to kind of borrow that method there to finish these, because for one thing, I'm going to have this curve right here in the bow, and then we're also going to have a little shallow V right here. So from here to right about out here somewhere. And then of course, you know, you're going to have the sides coming forward, and as I come forward, the angle is going to change a little bit. It's going to have a little bit more of a twist in it, and it's going to intersect with the frame of the bow right about where this jack handle's at. And so we got a lot of compound angles, a lot of compound curves there to deal with. So I just decided that these two ribs, I would make those last. So, you know, that's the game plan for that. So got to make a trip down to Houston here on Monday. I had to put that trip off by a week because of the weather. Houston had some bad weather in the forecast last week, Monday. I think they had a little bit of ice and rain going on down there, but weather forecast is good. So Monday, it's right now, it's Saturday night. So I'll get down there early as I can Monday and pick up the 1/4 inch Meranti that I need for the hull of the boat. So once I get all these ribs made, I'll get back with you, show you the progress. I think what I'll do is, once I get the slots cut and get them to where I can get them to the mock-up stage, that's when I'll record another video for you and kind of just show you the progress there. So until next time, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next segment. Welcome back, folks. Well, I am on my way down to Houston right now. It's 6:30 in the morning on a Monday morning, and well, I'm off. I mentioned in one of my previous videos that my plywood supplier is down in the Houston area, Houston Hardwoods, and so, well, here we go. Fort Worth, Houston, 4 hours, go down there, get my materials, turn around, come back. And boy, I sure do wish there was a supplier of Meranti plywood here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but it is what it is, and off we go. We'll see you here when we get there. Okay, 7:30, Corsicana, gas stop that's south of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Getting ready to hop on over to Interstate 45 and head on down to Houston. Well, I checked the weather to make sure there wasn't any rain in the forecast, but as you can see, well, or maybe you can, maybe you can't see that, but it's starting to cloud up. If it starts raining, I'm going to have to turn back. I can't have that stuff getting wet. Maybe I could go by Home Depot and get some plastic wrap, try to wrap it up. But even though, yeah, it's marine grade plywood, still can't have it getting wet because it's raw, doesn't have any protective coating on it. I mean, it'll still get damaged just like any other wood if it gets too wet. So gonna have to watch this weather, see what's going on here. Like I said, there was no rain in the forecast today, and well, weatherman, let me change lanes here real quick. Looks like the weather report's been kind of hit or miss all winter, so yeah, we'll see. Okay, I'm in Centerville. Pulled off the freeway, took a little bit of a rest stop here, and I'm at a place called Woody's Smokehouse, and just had to go and get some coffee. I was actually in Waxahachie in that last segment, not in Corsicana, hence the need for coffee. So yeah, ready to get back on the road, and should be at Houston Hardwoods doorstep here, about 2 hours. I'll see you when we get there. Okay, I am paying attention to my driving. I am being careful. I've been scanning the tree line and the brush line by the side of the interstate, looking for any sign of hog activity. The cool weather, I've had a lot of rain. The creeks are all full. Usually that brings them out, but I haven't seen any. I have seen some deer. Typically when I drive through Louisiana, I always see hogs by the side of the freeway. They like to hang out right there at the edge of that brush line and tree line. They won't come out in the clear, but they will come right to the edge of that brush line. You can see them. I've been looking. I know there are hogs down here in this part of the country. We're in the East Texas Piney Woods area, and no, this is hog country down here. And there's actually a hog hunting ranch close by, probably about 20 miles from here. Big hog hunting ranch. Now I know if you're a farmer or a rancher in this area, you don't want to see those feral hogs, but hey, just give me a call. I'll come help you get rid of them. Okay, I just passed a sign that said Huntsville city limits. Huntsville, if you don't know, is home to most of the Texas state prisons. You do not want to be a guest of the state of Texas in Huntsville, and we'll just leave it at that. You don't even want to be a visitor here, because then that would mean that a friend or a family member of yours is a guest of the state of Texas, and not a good thing either. So yeah, this is just a place that you want to drive on through and keep on driving through. Don't ever want to be a guest of the state here. Okay, this will be my last video segment on the road here until I start back getting into the Houston area. Actually in Conroe, just entering Conroe right now. Traffic's really going to start picking up, so I will see you at Houston Hardwoods. We are here. I have arrived. 5 hours exactly. That's probably a little overly optimistic. Let me get parked here. Probably a little bit overly optimistic. About 4 hours. I wish it was 4 hours, but would have taken a lot longer if my wife had been with me. And yes, I said that out loud. So let me go in and take care of business. I'll be right back. Okay folks, we are loaded out. Thank you, Houston Hardwoods, and ready to go back to Fort Worth, turn this into a boat, and we will see you when I get back home. Hopefully you can see this. Coming up on my right here, statue of Sam Houston, just outside of Huntsville, Texas. I do need to pay attention to my driving, not so much to my view screen. Like I said, first president of the Republic of Texas, and yeah, things keep going like they are, there may very well be another president of the Republic of Texas, quote unquote, in our future. More to come, I guess. Only God himself knows what the future holds. All right, next stop, Centerville. Okay, just one more little segment before we get to Centerville. Just talk a little bit about the East Texas Piney Woods, and that's where we are. About 20 miles south of Madisonville, north of Huntsville now. And it's just a beautiful part of the state. I'd love to live here, either here or the Texas Hill Country. As you get closer to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you get out of these tall pine trees because Interstate 45 kind of runs southeast to northwest. And the further west you go, the more you get away from this. This is more like the southeastern part of the United States. It reminds you more of Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, you know, with big tall pine trees. Really beautiful area. Like I said, I'd love to live down in this area. Not so close to Houston, but maybe this part of the state. Maybe soon. We'll see. See you in Centerville. Okay, back to Woody's Smokehouse in Centerville. I'm gonna get gas here. And I'm gonna grab a bite to eat, grab some sausage, and then I'll head on home to Fort Worth. Actually, I was here about make it about 3.5 hours ago when I first stopped here this morning on the way down to Houston. I'm stopping here now, get gas, get some sausage, get some kolaches, take back home, and okay, next time you hear from me, I will be back in my driveway in Fort Worth. Thank you for going with me on this trip. Okay, just like that, I am back in my driveway in Fort Worth, otherwise known as the bleak, desolate desert, landlocked desert. Man, just looking out over the terrain as I was driving back in, nothing like East Texas. What was I thinking when I moved back from Florida? Oh my goodness, but okay, enough of that. Anyway, I'm back and get this plywood unloaded, and it was just a long drive. Would have been home 30 minutes earlier. Just construction everywhere. Just traffic, just tied up, snarled up everywhere you look. But made it back home safe and sound. And so we'll see you in the next segment. And again, thank you for coming along with me. Thank you for putting up with me and all my commentary along the way. And well, I don't think I'm going to plan another one of those trips anytime soon. I do believe now I have all the supplies that I need, all the plywood that I need to finish this boat out. So again, thank you for watching. Hello, and welcome back. Welcome to the devotional segment. I think it's safe to say that, you know, we've been through some pretty tough times this past year. And, you know, in all honesty, everything that we've been through, actually, it can all be traced back to the Garden of Eden, but we'll focus on more recent events. Given the times that we're living in right now and the difficulties that we've faced this past year, I think it's more important than ever that we as Christians be there for one another, and that we be especially attentive to other believers who may be struggling and who may be hurting in some way. Now, I'll be the first person to admit I have dropped the ball in that area way more times than I care to admit to. But the Bible does clearly tell us, you know, we are to encourage one another and to some degree rely on one another. Now, there are in fact numerous Bible passages that address the calling that we as believers have to encourage one another, and I chose these 4 passages. The first is from the 1st chapter of Romans. First, I thank my God through Jesus Christ for all of you, because your faith is being reported all over the world. God, whom I serve in my spirit in preaching the gospel of his Son, is my witness how constantly I remember you in my prayers at all times. And I pray that now, at last, by God's will, the way may be opened for me to come to you. And this is Paul, his letter to the Romans, and he's expressing his desire to come and visit them in Rome. He goes on to say, I long to see you, so that I may impart to you some spiritual gift to make you strong. That is, that you and I may be mutually encouraged by each other's faith. As believers, ultimately, we draw our strength from God. But this passage tells us that we can also draw some measure of strength from one another through this mutual encouragement that Paul spoke of. We do that in any number of ways. Of course, we pray for each other. That should go without saying. We do it through our testimony that we share with one another. And quite often, we do it just by sharing with other believers the things that may be troubling us and the trials that we may be going through. Sometimes we can draw strength from that, and believe it or not, others can draw strength from it when we share those things with them. Paul went on to write, 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, "For God did not appoint us to suffer wrath, but to receive salvation through our Lord Jesus Christ. He died for us so that, whether we are awake or asleep, we may live together with him. Therefore, encourage one another and build each other up, just as, in fact, you are doing." And I take that passage to mean that it's something that we have to do continually. It's not just a one-time thing. We don't just, go and tell somebody, "I'll pray for you," or just speak a word to them and then just go on and never talk to that person again. It's something that we do continually, and that conclusion is enforced in this next passage from the book of Hebrews chapter 3. The author of Hebrews wrote, "See to it, brothers and sisters, that none of you has a sinful, unbelieving heart that turns away from the living God, but encourage one another daily, as long as it is called today, so that none of you may be hardened by sin's deceitfulness." And the author of Hebrews, he had more to say on this subject of believers encouraging one another. In Hebrews chapter 10, the Bible tells us, "And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching." And in other words, as we get closer to the time of Christ's return, we need to be lifting each other up, strengthening each other more than ever before. And it can be something as simple as a phone call or a card or a letter. Like I said, ultimately, our encouragement comes from our Lord Jesus Christ. But God uses his faithful believers as conduits and channels through which his encouragement flows. And folks, again, I want to thank you for going along with me today on that trip down to Houston. It's been a long day. I've been up since 6 o'clock this morning. It's now about 10:30 p.m. And it is time. It's time to wrap up my day because I am tired. But I just wanted to share that message with you, and I pray that you will be blessed by it. And as always, be blessed and behave. And now it is definitely time for me to be gone and to be in bed. So thank you for watching. And good night, good morning, good afternoon, or whatever time of day you're watching this. You folks take care.